The island of Vieques, a beach lover's paradise in Puerto Rico, where you'll find endless stretches of natural beaches which are frequently listed among the Caribbean's best.
This is gorgeous.
And while you won't find big hotels, resorts, or crowds on these beaches, you may have to share them with a horse or two. But which of these stunning Vieques beaches is best for you? Well, we're going to help you determine just that.
Welcome to the island of Vieques. In this episode, we're going to be taking you all around the island to show you its most beautiful beaches.
Today's our first full day in Vieques. We did get onto the island yesterday afternoon, but basically we only had enough time to check into our Airbnb, go on our Bio Bay excursion, and grab a quick dinner. We will tell you more about our awesome excursion and our dinner later in this video, but first we got some beaches to hit.
And while we make our way to our first Vieques beach, we should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Jamie and that's Skylar, and we love to travel, especially off the beaten path. And as you'll see in this video, you don't get much more off the beaten path than at some of Vieques' beaches. And our first beach of the day would definitely fall into that category, as we'd have to drive a few miles down a dirt road full of potholes to get there. Thankfully, it's totally acceptable to drive all over this island in a golf cart or UTV like this one. We'll tell you more about where and how we rented our UTV a bit later, but for now, it's time to check out our first beach.
We have made it to our very first beach here on the island of Vieques. It's called Chiva. It's located on the southern coast of the island and it is in the reserve. Now this is also known as Blue Beach and it's often ranked as one of the very best beaches in the Caribbean for its shades of blue.
If you follow Google Maps to get to Chiva Beach, it's going to take you to this access here, which wasn't even labeled. We think it might be access number 6 though. We'll let you know if it's a good spot to access this beach or not.
Oh wow, so our first view of this beach is incredible. It's very blue right now, but there is kind of a light layer of clouds, so I bet when it's full sun, it's even bluer. Yeah, I think there's 5 of us total here right now. Granted, this is a Monday mid-morning, so not prime beach time, but still, this is gorgeous. Now there is a little bit of seaweed, but you know, for natural beaches, that's very common.
While we show you a little more of Playa Chiva, we do want to mention that we'll be taking you to 7 different beaches in this video. And of those 7, all but 1 is located on the southern coast of the island, which is known to be home to most of Vieques' best beaches. Now we have heard that there are some extremely beautiful beaches on the northeastern coast of the island, but that section of the island is off limits, and we'll tell you why later in this video.
Now, Chiva Beach is known for having some really good snorkeling, but as you probably noticed, the waters are pretty rough today. There's some really high winds, and as a result, I'm guessing that the waters aren't too clear. So hopefully we'll find a spot today that has a little calmer waters, so we'll be able to try out the snorkeling there.
Now the sand here at Chiva is also pretty impressive. It is very soft and pretty white. Now I wouldn't say it's quite as white as some of our beaches on the Gulf Coast of Florida, but you're also not gonna find a beach like this in Florida that is this nice and doesn't have crowds.
Now, as I think Jamie already mentioned, part of the reason that this beach is probably so dead today is because it's a Monday. Also, the waters are pretty rough, so it's probably not a great day for swimming or snorkeling. But I still think the main reason that this beach is so empty is probably because it is a little bit tough to access. You do have to drive quite a ways down a pretty bumpy gravel road. Now, the UTV that we rented did make it just fine, but we did have to go very slow. So we're getting ready to leave our first beach, and after spending some time here, we both agree that this is definitely one that we would come back to. Obviously, it's beautiful, and we just love the secluded feel. Now, if you're someone that doesn't really enjoy secluded feeling beaches or requires some amenities like bathrooms, then you're probably not gonna love this beach. But if you do love a secluded, beautiful beach, then you'll definitely love this one.
Now that was an amazing first beach stop. Now before we leave Chiva, we are going to drive up a little bit further to check out either access 7 or 8 since that was recommended online. We saw some people swimming in the water up that way, so hopefully it's a little less rough, but we'll find out. So access 8 does have a lot more room for parking. This is the most parking we've seen so far in an access.
Checking out access number 8. It's got a bigger parking lot than 6, much better for full-size vehicles. But it also has a longer path to the beach, and it's probably only about a quarter mile from 6 where we were at previously.
All right, so this beach access is pretty sweet. You walk out and look Those beautiful palm trees and the gorgeous water.
After stopping out on Beach Access 8, we definitely understand why people did recommend that one. It has a lot more coconut palms. It also had a shelter area, it looked like, where you can get some shade or take cover from the rain. But there were more people also. I think there were like 10 people on that beach. So definitely still plenty of room to find space for yourself, but not quite the secluded feel that we found at Access number 6.
Before we head to our second beach, we want to talk a little bit about how we got to the island of Vieques. You do have the option of flying over, but also you can take the ferry, and the ferry is much cheaper. I think it was $2 per person each way, plus an additional $1 per bag. But I will let Skylar tell you a little bit more about the actual ferry experience.
So the ferry experience was actually really good this time. It took about a half hour to get here from Chiva. And even though the seas were pretty rough, the boat itself seemed to be pretty stable. I did not get seasick like I did on the ferry to Culebra last year. And if you do have the option of taking the car and people or the people only ferry, I would definitely recommend trying to book on the people only ferry. In our experience, it seems to be a little more stable. The main thing though, it has a lot more windows so you can see outside better, focus on the horizon so you don't get sick. And it's also easier to get outside to get some fresh air if you do start feeling a little bit nauseous.
Now we should mention that the ferry terminal is located in Isabel Segunda, which is considered the downtown area of Vieques and is situated on the north end of the island. The ferry terminal was conveniently located near our Airbnb, our UTV rental, a grocery store, and several restaurants. But since the best beaches are primarily located on the south end of the island, having a vehicle was a must. After a fantastic first beach stop at Playa La Chiva, our second beach stop of the day would take us just over a mile to the west. And while the distance to this beach may have been short, the road was pretty bad, so it did take us a while.
So we just came from Playa La Chiva, which is here, and now we're at Prieta. They're not very far from each other, and they're both located within this yellow area where public use is allowed, but you do have to visit with caution, as this whole area of the island used to be occupied for military training purposes. The yellow areas have been cleared out and deemed safe, whereas all of this red area still has not been deemed safe for people to access. You might look on a map and see that there are a ton of other beaches in this area of the island. However, they are not safe and you cannot access them.
So if you come out to this eastern section of the island, you will see some signs that talk about recognize, retreat, and report. And it refers to these unexploded ordnances or UXOs. So like Jamie said, in the yellow area, they have cleared the area so it is able to be accessed by the public, but you're still not allowed to dig, to drive stakes, or to set any sort of fire, because even though it's been cleared, there's still always a chance you could still find one of those UXOs buried in the ground.
So the path from the parking lot down to the beach is not far at all. Look how gorgeous this is. The water over here already looks much calmer than the beach we were just at.
It sure didn't take us long to realize why Playa Prieta is known as the secret beach, as there were only 3 other people on this beach when we arrived, and shortly thereafter it would be just us.
We're the only people here now. Look around, yeah.
With this incredibly beautiful beach now entirely to ourselves, I decided to go for a walk while Skylar chose to test out the snorkeling.
So Prieta does seem to be a little bit more protected. So even though we are not very far from the last beach we were at, the water is much calmer here. With that said, it's still pretty cloudy. So we're not really confident Skylar will be able to see much, but he is out there checking it out right now.
As anticipated, the snorkeling wasn't great, but Skylar was at least able to find a few pretty fish not too far from the shore.
So the 2 days we are here on the island, it is supposed to be pretty windy and wavy, so this might be the calmest water that we see while we're here, but let's hope not. So if this is what the water looks like here when the seas have waves of up to like 10 to 12 foot, I can only imagine how calm it gets on a nice day when it's not windy or wavy.
We're getting ready to wrap up our time here at Prieta, and we both absolutely love this beach. The sands are just as white and soft as the last beach, but the waters are even a little bit calmer. And I think what we loved most about this beach is that we briefly had it entirely to ourselves. So kind of like the first beach, if you're the type of person that's willing to drive down some rough roads in order to get that secluded beach experience, then this beach is definitely for you. So as we're getting ready to leave our second beach, we encountered a pretty bizarre situation. There was a mongoose and an iguana fight right by our vehicle. Jamie said she actually saw the mongoose had the iguana's head in its mouth. We didn't get a chance to catch any of it on film, but we did startle him, and I think we saved the iguana. But in the meantime, the iguana crawled up underneath our mule. It's somewhere up under the hood. So I'm gonna have to try to poke around with my GoPro stick to hopefully scare the iguana out of our mule before we take off.
Okay, so we have looked all around this thing underneath and we can no longer see the iguana. We're thinking it might have crawled out into the bushes here. We're hoping that's the case, but we're just gonna start it and give it an opportunity to leave if it hasn't already.
Now, in addition to being a nice hideout for iguanas, we found the Kawasaki Mule to be a great way to get around Vieques as well, as the rugged vehicle was tough enough to navigate the island's pothole-filled roads and small enough to park almost anywhere. We rented our mule from Scooters for Rent. The cost of our two-seater mule was $95 per day, which we were happy to pay a little extra for versus a scooter or a golf cart. Now that you know where we got our sweet ride, it's time to make our way to our third beach of the day.
So we have not seen a horse on a beach yet, but we sure have seen plenty of them on the road.
Now at this point, you might be wondering what's up with all the horses, as Vieques is home to over 2,000 of them, which amounts to more than one horse per every 5 people. The horses were originally brought to Vieques in the 16th century, and for hundreds of years were the primary way to get around on the island. Many of the horses you see roaming Vieques today are owned, free-range horses, while others are completely wild. While we passed by hundreds of horses while driving around this island, it was on the way to our third beach of the day that we spotted our first horse that was actually on the beach. While we would return to this popular beach a little bit later, the beach we were headed to next was a bit more secluded. If you're enjoying this video so far and would like to see more of our adventure travels and unique tropical destinations like this one, be sure to subscribe to Explorcation and turn the notifications on. While much of the drive to our next beach did look like this, a lot of it also looked like this, which was not nearly as enjoyable. But we did eventually make it to our third beach, and boy was it worth the bumpy drive.
So up to the right, that is where the reserve is, and there's a lot of restricted access. But here's some of the beaches you can go to. So we were at Chiva, then we went to Prieta, and then I think we technically left the reserve and maybe came back into it. I'm not 100% certain, but now we are at Navio. Now we did have to drive all around Sunday to get to Navio, and that was a gorgeous drive. That is much easier access, so if you don't want to take the real bumpy road to get all the way to Navio, that would be a nice spot too. But we're going to take you out to Navio.
After already having visited 2 gorgeous and secluded beaches, we were a little concerned that our third beach of the day would be a letdown in comparison. But as you can see, it was anything but, as the beach was wide, the sand was soft, and the water was a vivid shade of blue. While the waves at Navio Beach may be a little too big for those who enjoy a relaxing dip in the water, we found the stunning beauty of this beach to be hard to match. And we do have to point out that yet again, we had another amazing Vieques beach entirely to ourselves.
So this beach does check a lot of our boxes. It has got soft white sand, a pretty blue color to the water, it's lined with coconut palms, and it's surrounded by these cool rock formations. The only thing I wish today is that it was a little less windy and wavy, because the waves are pretty strong and there are no lifeguards here. Now we have no idea what this beach would be like on a day that's not so wavy and windy, so if by chance you have been here before and it was a little bit calmer, let us know about it in the comments.
Now I love pretty much everything about this beach. I'm not quite sure where it ranks on my personal top 10 Puerto Rico beaches. It might be number 1, it's definitely top 3, but to find out for sure where it ranks on our list, make sure to tune into our top 10 Puerto Rico beaches video, which we do plan to post in the next week or 2.
We almost forgot to tell you that in addition to its beauty, this beach is also known for its caves. There are a few of them if you walk to the left, but Skylar only felt comfortable going into the first one with the shallowest water.
While these caves are easier to access at low tide, we had been visiting closer to high, so if exploring caves is on your to-do list when visiting Navio Beach, be sure to visit when the tide is low.
Oh, we saw this guy along the way. Hey, buddy. So we are leaving beach number 3. like accessing and like the roads, this road was pretty rough.
Yeah, I think it was the hardest beach to get to of the three.
It's got a lot of divots in it.
You just gotta be willing to take your time. As long as you're not in a hurry, you'll be just fine. If you got a mule.
Yeah.
If you had one of those golf carts with the little tires on it, I don't think I would want to do this road.
Yeah. Now we think this beach is close to Mosquito Bay, which we did actually go to last night, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that once we're off of this thing, because I know it's super loud, and even though we have our microphone, the audio is not the greatest right now. After our third beach, we did decide to stop by Sunday Beach, because as we were driving past it, it just looked so gorgeous with all the palm trees, and the water was so calm. It's incredible how much of a difference there is between the calm water here and the water just about a mile away. Now this beach is much easier to access and it's huge, so even though you will find more people here, there's plenty of space to spread out, and if you like to walk beaches, this would be a great one to do it. So on the south side of Vieques is where you'll find all these beaches that we've taken you to today, and it's also where you're gonna find one of the world's bioluminescent bays. We did visit there last night. It is one of the bays in the world with a high population of dinoflagees. I think they are so tiny, 3 of them could fit on the tip of a needle. But what happens is whenever you disturb the water, they emit so much light that it makes them look like they are 100 times their size, and that is why the human eye can see this light in these bays. So as we were kayaking through the waters last night, every stroke or every time you put your hand in the water, it was just lighting up. It was a really cool experience. We'll show you some of the footage that we took from it, but because it's so dark and we just don't have camera equipment that can actually capture the light, there's not much that you can see. It's not going to be near like what you'll see whenever you Google the images for the bio bays. I think a lot of those are very much enhanced, but there might be some cameras out there that can accurately capture it. It's just not one that we have right now. I do wish that what we're seeing was coming through. Like, I know that it's not going to, so this is one of those experiences that if you have an opportunity to do it, you just have to come and do it yourself.
You just have to take our word for it.
Skylar says you just have to take our word for it, how cool it is.
Now before we get back to day 2, we do want to mention that after our first night's Bio Bay tour with Blackbeard Sports, we did grab a quick dinner at a nearby Mexican restaurant. And while the food was decent, the highlight was definitely the guava colada, which was a little sweet, quite strong, and incredibly tasty. We started off our second day in Vieques at a local panderia in search of some coffee to fuel our day of exploring Vieques' beaches. And while this creamhorn was sugary, sweet, and delicious, the cappuccinos were pretty disappointing, as they basically tasted like drip coffee with some milk mixed in. Now fast forward to later that day, after exploring 4 incredible beaches, we were ready for a snack, and this fried pork, tostones, and passion fruit juice at Rancho Choli sure did hit the spot. And after a quick drive to the shoreline to watch the sun set over the Caribbean, we made one more stop at a place that's known for having great mofongo. But after looking over the menu at Rincon del Sabor, I decided that I needed some chicken too. And we do have to say that the chicken was great and the mofongo was the best we'd ever had. Plus, we really enjoyed the atmosphere too. In fact, we enjoyed Rincon del Sabor so much, we'd return the very next day. And after capping day 2 off with a cup of ice cream from DeFroze, we were off to our Airbnb to rest up for day 3. We began day 3 right back at DeFroze in search of some things that had eluded us in Vieques thus far: a traditional Puerto Rican press sandwich and a good cup of coffee.
So this is the breakfast sandwich that we got from, do you even remember the name of that place?
Oh.
You got a video of it. We'll show you the front of it. But it is pressed.
Ham, egg, and cheese.
It's good size. And we also got lattes from there. Very delicious. We are rushing this morning though, because we have to pack up and drop our luggage off at a storage center close to the ferry, and we'll be off checking out more beaches.
Our quest to visit the rest of Vieques' most beautiful beaches had us heading back to the southern coast of the island.
So yesterday we explored the beaches all in this area of the island. Today we drove on 200 and eventually on 201 to get down to this area here, and we're gonna hike down and see the Black Beach.
We've reached the access point to the first beach of our second day here in Vieques. We got a nice sunny day so far. The drive over here was beautiful, and hopefully this beach is too.
Skylar literally just got done saying that it was a nice sunny day, and this cloud rolled up. It's starting to sprinkle a little bit. But this is what you hear about the island. It can be sunny one minute, rainy the next, is what it is.
So from what we've read online, it does sound like the hike to the Black Beach is probably around 15 minutes. But so far this trail's looking really good.
So far sandals are an okay choice, Skylar?
Yeah, perfect choice actually. I'm really loving this trail so far. It's nice and sandy and smooth. It's wide. It's got a lot of tree and leaf cover, so if it's sunny, it's gonna block the sun. And right now it's actually raining a little bit. You can hear it in the leaves, but we're really not feeling it at all. But like every other trail, street, sidewalk, or pretty much anything else in Vieques, you do have to keep an eye out for the horse poop.
While Playa Negra is not the most famous Vieques beach we'd be visiting, its black sand does make it one of the most unique. But depending on the waves and rain, the sand on the beach isn't always mostly black, so we were keeping our fingers crossed.
Oh, we can see the water already. That wasn't long at all. So it seems we may have lucked out because this beach is full of the black sand. Now you can see where the waves come in. It does bring up the lighter colored sand and covers up some of the darker sand, but up here it is just black. And this is the first time we've been to a black sand beach. The closest we've probably been to has been Casperson in Florida, which is just like dark brown sand.
Yeah, it's nowhere close to this dark. This kind of reminds me like what you'd see in Hawaii, like the volcanic sand, but there's no volcanoes here, so I'm not sure what makes the sand black.
Yeah, we'll Google it and find out for sure.
It's very unique though, the black sand and also like all the cliffs. We haven't seen a beach like this in Puerto Rico before. It's very cool. You definitely do not see these cliffs on our Florida beaches. Don't see much black sand either.
While we take some time to show you around this picturesque Vieques beach, we want to know if you've ever visited a black sand beach. If so, let us know when and where, and if not, let us know whether or not you'd like to.
So we got to be honest with you guys, we almost didn't even come to this beach. We had read some mixed reviews. We knew it was a bit of a hike. And on our last day in Vieques, especially a hot one like this, we want to spend our time on the beach and not on the hiking trail. But man, was the hike worth it. We're so glad we came. This beach is incredibly unique. It has the beautiful mix of brown and black sand. It has cliffs on each side. It also has the clearest water we've seen on this trip to Puerto Rico. It's definitely a beach that you have to visit. We did also want to mention that there is no cell phone reception on this beach, at least not with T-Mobile. And we wanted to tell you why the sand on this beach was actually black, but since we couldn't look it up, we're just gonna have to do it in voiceover.
While there are no volcanoes on Vieques, the island was formed by volcanic activity millions of years ago. Leftover volcanic minerals from Monte Pirata are washed down to Playa Negra during heavy rains. This causes the sand on Playa Negra to often be at least partially black, especially during the rainy season.
What was inside?
After a wonderful couple of hours on Playa Negra, it was time to make our way back to our mule and to our 6th Vieques beach.
So there are quite a few vehicles now in the parking lot for this beach. For reference, the entrance is there to get to the trail. This rooster, I think, found a French fry. I'm not sure if that's its normal diet, but it seems to like it.
With only around 6 hours before we'd have to catch our ferry back to Chiva, we still had 2 more beaches on our list. Fortunately, the next one was only a couple miles down the road, but unfortunately, that road was another rough one. But after carefully navigating through many more potholes and a few more horses, we had arrived at Playa Grande.
I'd say we got a pretty nice parking spot. The beach is right there! Look at that! So while we were in the area to visit Playa Negra, there was another beach that was close by. We decided to check it out. It's a totally different vibe. I'm glad we stopped by. I don't know that we'll get to stay here for very long because it looks like there are some clouds maybe rolling in, and I don't think we want to be riding around in the rain too much in this thing. But we'll at least show you what the beach here looks like.
As we made our way out to explore Playa Grande, we once again found ourselves amazed at how much the beach landscape can change on Vieques by traveling just a short distance down the coastline.
Jamie decided to be brave enough to walk through this raging river.
Almost knee deep.
Yeah.
Very clear water.
Yeah.
Very scary.
So the beach here at Playa Grande is pretty narrow and has quite a bit of seaweed on it, but it does have a very natural and secluded feel, and it's also lined in palm trees. So if you're already visiting the black sand beach, we would recommend making the short drive to visit Playa Grande.
So we're pretty sure you can see the black sand beach over that way. I am not sure which one. There's a couple different areas where you can see the exposed cliffs. We have found quite a few of these crab shells here. They are pretty big, so it'd be kind of cool to see one that actually lives in there.
But then again, maybe not in person. While Playa Grande isn't the widest and doesn't have the softest sand, we both agreed we could happily spend several hours on this secluded beach. But we still had another beach to get to and lunch before that, so it was time to be on our way. Our day 3 lunch spot brought us back to Rincon del Sabor to hang out with some chickens and eat some more of the island's best mofongo.
I don't know if it's coming through on here, but you can hear them pounding. I think they're making the mofongo. It's a labor-intensive process if it's made right. So we are back at the Vieques food park. We actually ate here yesterday after visiting all of those beaches, but we hardly took any footage of it because we were so tired and hungry. But we had tried their tripango and absolutely loved it. It's a type of mofongo made with 3 different things. I think it's yuca and 2 different kinds of plantains, but it was so good. We actually thought it might have been the best mofongo we've ever had, so we are back today to try it again, but we're also gonna try one of their sandwiches. Oh yeah, you got the salsa too?
I did.
So it's a mango salsa?
Guava salsa.
Oh, a guava salsa.
Yeah. And the feast.
Is this a sandwich? Oh, I didn't know that it was plantain.
Plantain buns.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's the tripango, and this must be the yuca mofongo.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mofongo.
Mm-hmm.
So the bun of this sandwich is basically tostones, which is like mashed and fried plantains, I think. Not what we were expecting, but looks good. Yeah, it's awesome. This steak is so good. Very good flavor. It's good, Rooster.
Have you ever tried traditional Puerto Rican food? If so, let us know where and what your thoughts of it were in the comments.
So this one is the tripango. So 3 different types of yuca and plantains.
We already know that one's delicious.
It's just as good as last night. And this is just the yuca mofongo. They are both excellent.
After another amazing meal at Rincon del Sabor, it was time to visit our 7th Vieques beach.
So we have made it to our very last Vieques beach stop, which is Sea Glass Beach. And within a minute of being here, I already found a nice little piece of sea glass.
We had planned for this to be our last beach stop here in Vieques because it is the closest one to the ferry terminal, which is actually where we're going to be heading in about an hour or so to catch a ferry back to the mainland. Now, we thought this beach would be pretty busy because it is the closest to the ferry terminal, but when we got here, it was just us and one other couple, which was a pretty awesome way to end our time here in Vieques.
And while our time in this island was nearing its end, we still had an hour or so to enjoy this beautiful beach. And how do you spend an hour on Sea Glass Beach? By searching for sea glass, of course.
Alright, we've been looking for sea glass for a little bit. Skylar says she got a piece, so let's go check it out. Skylar is serious about this. You said you got one? Let's see it. Oh yeah, good find. From here you can see the ferry that goes back to the mainland. That's the ferry that left at 4:30. But we are here for just a little bit longer. So here's the piece that Skylar found. Now before we started looking, he did a quick Google search because we have never been on a beach to look for sea glass before. And I guess you're supposed to be kind of close to the shore where the waves were crashing, and then areas where we saw that there seemed to be like shells and stuff in the water, that's where we've been kind of hanging out. And so far, it's worked. And one more tip was to go when the tide is low. I don't think we're here at low tide, but the tide is at least going out. I think I might be having beginner's luck. I got this one, and then I've got the smallest one that we found yet. But hopefully we'll find some more. Oh, Skylar says he found one. You got one? Bring it up here. Yeah. Another one. We're finding all these white ones, or these clear ones.
Do they actually come in colors?
Well, the first one that I found was green. I don't know. I think that one is maybe a rare find.
Wow.
But again, we don't know anything about finding sea glass. Alright, Skylar found another tiny one. I honestly have no idea how he even grabbed this. And I found one a little bit bigger, but it's a really cool shade of green. This ended up being pretty fun. I think we initially thought we would just kind of come down here, walk up and down once or twice, and then head back to the ferry terminal, but we're having a great time. Now, while we continue to search for sea glass, we want to know which Vieques beach was your favorite. We'll do a quick reminder of all the beaches we went to in this episode, and be sure to put your favorite in the comments below and let us know why. So update on our strategy. We're pretty sure that the website we looked at was incorrect and that the tide is not going out. But we changed to just picking up a scoop of rocks, and we've been able to find a whole bunch of little pieces that are kind of different colors. So Skylar's been really good at finding a bunch of these, but they are teeny tiny. Look at that. Skylar found some bigger ones. That's pretty big. He's also found some more smaller ones. He's looking through his last hurrah, because we got to get to the ferry. No. Skylar says I should go get our luggage so he can keep looking for sea glass, but nope. We're both gonna go get our luggage. What are you doing?
Washing off my hands. And my face.
All right. Well, this might end up being one of his favorite beaches now because of the sea glass situation. Thought he was gonna go get another. Don't do it! We gotta go. Skylar is very reluctantly leaving Sea Glass Beach.
I got hooked. It was fun. I honestly didn't even think I was gonna enjoy it at all, but it was a blast.
Sadly, Skylar would leave his favorite new hobby behind, but soon he'd be enjoying one of his other favorite hobbies, drinking painkillers.
So we picked up our luggage and we're heading to the terminal.
We made our way towards the terminal as the sun was beginning to set, and we just couldn't pass on the opportunity to get a few shots of the sunset. We made it back to the ferry terminal around 40 minutes prior to our departure, which would give us just enough time to enjoy a couple of drinks at the Mar Azul next door. This waterfront bar was the perfect spot to look back on our time in Vieques while watching our ferry back to the mainland sail in over the horizon. Now, there's no doubt that Vieques has some of Puerto Rico's most beautiful beaches, but its neighbor to the north, Culebra, sure does give it a run for its money. And you can see some of the best beaches that island has to offer by clicking here right now. Thanks for watching!